wasn't this man SRG?
I think SRG is not.
I like SRG.
Well, you never heard me say this man is SRG either.
Yeah, no, at the hearing.
No, you didn't hear me say that.
Show the hearing.
How come you don't talk about any crime on the subway, only the one that...
Here we are at Jumanee Williams' birthday party. AG Letitia James is here, and probably a lot of other city officials when they do nothing to help New York.
I thought you already wanted to have a conversation.
And you forgot you worked for us.
Wait, do you want to have a conversation or just scream?
Yeah, you want to have a conversation?
Does anybody want to talk or does everybody want to speak?
Yes, we'd love to talk.
So I'm happy to talk to her once I have a conversation.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, no problem.
I'm really upset about the defunding of the police. As you know, the crime in New York City is horrific.
Okay.
At least we have a little headway now with the judges who can decide who gets, goes to jail with bail. Okay. Another thing that bothers me, and I mean this from my heart, I don't like the division of the people.
Never heard that.
You don't live in a bad
SRG.
You wasn't this man SRG?
I think SRG is not.
I like SRG.
Well, you never heard me say this man is SRG either.
Yeah, no, at the hearing.
No, you didn't hear me say that.
Show the hearing.
How come you don't talk about any crime on the subway, only the one that...
Here we are at Jumanee Williams' birthday party. AG Letitia James is here, and probably a lot of other city officials when they do nothing to help New York.
I thought you already wanted to have a conversation.
And you forgot you worked for us.
Wait, do you want to have a conversation or just scream?
Yeah, you want to have a conversation?
Does anybody want to talk or does everybody want to speak?
Yes, we'd love to talk.
So I'm happy to talk to her once I have a conversation.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, no problem.
I'm really upset about the defunding of the police. As you know, the crime in New York City is horrific.
Okay.
At least we have a little headway now with the judges who can decide who gets, goes to jail with bail. Okay. Another thing that bothers me, and I mean this from my heart, I don't like the division of the people. Because in my heart and my God, which I'm hoping is yours, because we are all God's children, the division of the black and white must stop.
Okay. Well, I believe we're actually all God's children. But one, you've never heard me say defund the police, ever. You've never heard me say that. What you have had me talk about is a conversation about public safety.
Right.
And I think public safety is really important because we've been talking about that for many, many years. And most of the communities that have a lot of crime,
yes,
we're trying the same way to solve the crimes that we did 20 years ago that didn't work. And so what I have said, and you can tell me where you disagree, is that our law enforcement, they're partners in safety. But they can't solve it all by themselves. If they could solve it all by themselves, they would solve it by themselves. And so I think it's a problem when we ask law enforcement to do all of the jobs that everybody should be doing. What happens is their elected officials will come in and they start pushing narratives that then make us not be able to have a conversation like this.
Well, if I may say, and I thank you for that, and respectably, I understand what you mean about the police.
Yeah.
I understand there are some situations where maybe you could call in a social worker, but in those cases, we don't know if someone has a gun or a knife. A social worker's not trained like the police, sir, and defunding them was the worst thing that the city did.
So just so you know, the NYPD has never been defunded. They've never lost money. They've always had more money than almost every other agency. So these are some of the facts that we actually try to push out because it's not true. What I also say is they have access to almost unlimited overtime. And then I said, what if the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene had access to some of that as well? Then we might be able to put in place a structure where if someone is actually in mental health crisis, we may be able to call someone other than the police so they can assess. If they think police are necessary, then they can call them. The bail issue, most folks have now associated bail with the rise in crime, but there's no data that actually supports that. And so what we've said is, can we look at what the data is saying about bail reform? Because all bail is supposed to do is make sure that you come back to court. Since that has happened, most people have come back to court, and we haven't seen a particular increase in crime of people who are now out that would have had bail. We do see recidivism, but we've seen recidivism whether there's bail reform or there isn't. So what I try to do is let's have a conversation about what's actually happening. Because there are states and cities across this country that never change their bail. They actually have more violence than us. And so I'm like, why are we aiming at something that hasn't worked in other places?
Okay, sir, I would like to answer you, if I may.
Sure.
What was it, 850 million that de Blasio and his wife got for the mentally ill to help
Yes.
them? We did not see a dime of it. Where's the money?
I think that money was not spent wisely, and I said it then, and I'll say it now. That money was terribly spent, in my opinion. And I said that then. And we've put out reports about mental health the first few years that I've been public advocate, and I wish the administration would actually take us on it.
Now, the statistics on the crime, sir, I know you say it, that in some aspects it's down. But then there have been other officials who have come forth, including some of the NYPD. It's gone crazy. The robberies, the rapes, the shootings. Now, they want to blame the gun, sir, but you know what? It's the person, not the gun. And we, the people, the taxpayers of New York, in every borough, we do not feel safe. It's like back to the 1980s.
So there's a few things there. One is, I want New Yorkers to be safe and to feel safe. Sometimes you're actually safe and don't feel safe, and that's just as bad because bad things can happen.
Yes.
So I try to address both of those. The problem is, if you look at crime across the country, no one wants to hear this. New York City is still one of the safest big cities in the country. That means nothing to anyone who's been a victim of crime, and it means nothing to anyone who still feels unsafe. And so what we have to do is try to address those things. So everything I always put forward is to see how we can address those things, because we're nowhere close to where we were in the 90s. But if we stoke the fear that we are, then we'll do some of the things that we did in the 90s didn't work. So what I say is, let's not just arrest the children of the people that we arrested 20 years ago, because it didn't work then. And so what I've talked about is what I think everyone agrees with, is that public safety is a multi-pronged approach, including our law enforcement partners. But if I ask you right now to tell me the neighborhoods that are the safest, that you think are the safest.
Well, I can tell you that.
But what I bet no one has ever told me a neighborhood that already has the most crime, that already has the most people in Rikers. So what that says to me is not that they don't have a job to do, but that alone doesn't keep them safe. And so we need to do other things that do that, and we need to invest in those things. Lastly, with the guns, we are 4% of the world's population. We have over half of all civilian-owned guns. Everything looks different when there's a gun involved. Domestic violence looks different. Suicide looks different. Anger looks different because they have a gun involved. Now, if those guns weren't involved, those things would look different. And what I have said is, every illegal gun was legal at some point.
Yes.
And so I want to look at why all these legal guns becoming illegal. And so conversation like this, and I appreciate you having the conversation.
Well, I appreciate you too. I mean, I've known of you. I am Susan. I'm an activist for many years. I know Al Sharpton, my mentor, knew him very well. I'm a little appalled that I can't get a meeting with our mayor. And I do say this. I really prayed, and I did, that maybe he would step up a little bit more than what he's done to help our city. And which leads me to this. We are not against anybody, sir, and I want you to know that in your heart. But the fact that we are getting the illegals here, and everybody has a right to live, but if you can't come here the right way, like my Nana and Grandpa did from Italy, then they should not be here. We don't have the space, we don't have the resources. New Yorkers are hurting.
So I want to say this because it's important. I always try to use language that doesn't say us versus them, because depending on the point of view, I'm either us or I'm them.
But that's why I said we're not against it.
No, I know, but so what I'm saying is, the day before the first bus came, we had 50,000 people in the shelters. The average wait time in the shelters was 400 days. The homelessness and housing crisis have been here before the asylum seekers. They exacerbated. But had we dealt with those issues then, it wouldn't be so bad now. Now, like you, I always have to unpack because I get angry. All these folks coming in, it's frustrating, and then I have to say, wait a minute, I'm a person of faith like you. What would cause a human being to take their newborn child and walk across dirty water and jungles? Something is going on. We ask other countries to open their borders when there is a refugee crisis. It's hard to turn that around. It's hard to turn that and say no. What has happened now, in my opinion, is the president has failed to assist us. The governor has failed to assist us.
Yes.
And so New York City cannot solve this problem by itself.
Right.
We have to continue to try. But we need assistance in terms of resources. And what should have been happening is a coordinated effort in the state and the entire country, so that we weren't bearing this burden by ourselves. But that's not what happened. But we still have to worry about, because because we're people of faith, those human beings that need assistance.
And lastly, because I don't want to hold you up, it comes down to Joe Biden opening the borders from the day that he came in. Now, I understand people fleeing their countries who are hurting, or maybe being beaten and raped or whatever. We are not vetting who's coming into the border. Look at the fentanyl. God bless the NYPD. They busted, what, millions of dollars of fentanyl. What was it? Up in Harlem recently. The cartels are here. We have terrorists here. I lived by 9/11. I saw. We have all kinds of things coming in.
There's no additional people who are here, undocumented or not, are not more likely to commit crime. As a matter of fact, if you're undocumented, you're probably less likely because you're undocumented. It's not. It's just. But I mean.
I respectfully disagree on that, and there's a lot of issues. But I want to thank you.
But I appreciate taking the time.
Yes.
Peace and blessings, everybody. Love and light to you all. Thank you. Appreciate it. I appreciate y'all.
Okay, that was Jumanee Williams, and I wanted a civil conversation to get him to talk. And I totally disagree with the immigration, the illegal.
Heart of gold.
What?
He has a heart of gold.
Well, miss, I'm saying that we as taxpayers and New Yorkers come first, with all due respect. The borders need to be closed. I know people down at the borders, fentanyl, terrorists, rapists, cartels. We are in a mess. And I assume you're a New Yorker. You come first. They cannot come to New York. We've got them in gyms. We're going to be putting them in Central Park. The hotels are ruined. The industry, the tourists don't want to come. Listen, it's not the here and the now. Joe Biden fucked this country. And our mayor has the legal authority. And you can check it out. Even though we are a sanctuary city, miss, he has the authority to turn those buses around. We are not the world's savior. And if we don't do something now, we lose New York. We will lose a lot of New Yorkers. The crime is up regardless of what he said. And I was being very respectful.
Haters.
And I thank you for
Thank you for that.
Well, thank you for speaking up.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to tell you that Jumanee Williams has a heart of gold. I have known him since I was 19 years old. Okay, I'm 47. We went to Brooklyn College together. Okay, so he's for the people. He doesn't want to see anybody suffer. You understand? And he's a fighter for what he believes in. But he believes that we're all human beings.
But why have I been told, and why have I heard comments from him that were actually racial?
I don't know what you're talking about. You know, if you want to be specific, I could possibly address it, you know.
And so, how would I get a meeting with him? I bet you that he would not have a meeting with me one-on-one.
Well, can you tell the future? Try it.
He said, where's the contract?
Try it. He's the public advocate. He has, get on his,
If he's a public advocate, he works for we the people. He should get on the mayor's butt.
Hi, how are you?
And make that mayor do certain things that he's not doing.
Well, he is doing a lot of that as well. He really is. Do you follow him on social media? Then get to know him. Is all I request. Get to know him. And you will see a person. You will see someone you may actually like. Because the last thing I will say, to know him is to love him. Okay? And I know him and I love him. He's a great person.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for being nice. But again, I disagree. The borders are open. The fentanyl is here.
The lady is brainwashed.
Yeah, well, the fentanyl is here. The crime is way up. I mean, the NYPD has put out statements. There may be a little bit of element of certain crimes that are down, but the bulk of the crime is up. Okay, I chose to be civil. I chose to be respectful because I felt that I could get more out of him by doing so. And I will take it a step farther after this interview, and hopefully he will remember me. Because somebody's got to step up for the people of New York. And that's the bottom line. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Do me a favor, share this, and God bless you all.
Turn the camera around.
Well.